Wow, the week went fast, didn't it? Welcome back to Heart and Mind. I'm Dr. Dina McMillan, and this is an exciting show today that you do not want to miss. I think this impacts almost all of us. We're talking about ending your addiction to your cell phone or another device. So if it's your iPad instead, you're not getting out of it. Let's talk about it. Now, we live stream every Tuesday night, and here are the times. These are US times. And as you know, I have an Australian friend that shows up sometimes to help us out and have some discussion. And for people in Australia, on the east coast of Australia, for most of you, the show starts at 12 noon, so you can watch it over lunchtime. If you're in Queensland, it's at 11 a.m. So the UK is a little tough. It's like in the middle of the night, but welcome everybody. We have a lot to talk about. And one of the things I want to tell you, if you've watched this show before, you know I have a particular lens through which I'm giving this information, because this show isn't about me, it's all about you. But the lens I'm using is one that most people don't have a lot of access to. Social psychologists often work in marketing, and they work for politicians. They have all of this information on learning and influence and persuasion and manipulation and coercion and indoctrination and brainwashing that's used on you, but it's very unusual for me to do what I'm doing, and that is telling you how it's done so you can protect yourself. This show is really all about giving you information you would not otherwise have, so that you can help yourself and your loved ones become manipulation proof. Now, speaking of manipulation proof, knowledge is power when it's put into action. Now, you know I keep saying that it has to be put into action. Here's a way to put it into action. You know they lied. You know they deceived us. You know they cheated us and are continuing to do so. I saw a lot of notice about a Pfizer ad about cancer at the Super Bowl, like we would trust them. Find out what these people are up to before you give them your trust, your money, and access to your body or that of your children. You really want to get the Pfizer papers. Just go on Amazon, get the Pfizer papers, and when you do it, you are also helping to support the historic work done by Daily Cloud. Go on Amazon, look up the Pfizer papers, and figure out exactly who Pfizer is, what they did, what they were trying to hide for 75 years. Ashish Kumar Jha, former Biden administration COVID-19 response coordinator, recently gave a chilling speech at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. Jha warned of a new age of pandemics fueled by bioweapons development and natural threats. He called for massive investments in vaccines against pathogens that don't even exist yet, and urged a war against so-called misinformation. But the question we need to ask is, who's working on bioweapons and how many labs are there globally? Yes, Trump got the win, but bad things are still lurking in the background. Being prepared is the best defense. The wellness company's Contagion Emergency Kit, engineered by Dr. Peter McCullough and his medical board, includes 5 critical life-saving medications like ivermectin, Tamiflu, a nebulizer, and hydroxychloroquine. Every household can now have access to these hard-to-get medications, minus the red tape. It's simple. Fill out a digital intake form and your kit arrives in 1 to 2 weeks. Don't wait until the deep state puts their plans into action. Stay ready for the unexpected. Head to dailycloudhealth.com and use the code DailyCloud to save $32 off plus free shipping. Kits are only available to U.S. residents. And we're back. And I don't want you to think this show is all about negativity, especially if this is your first time. What the format of this show always is, we talk about an issue that impacts so many of us, but we always talk about solutions. As with the Pfizer papers, it's not just presenting scary, tough information. We also always talk about solutions. Where do we go from here? How do we make it better? Now, this is a topic that most of us need to listen to, look at, because even if it's not us, it's someone close to us. I was involved with someone for years who was addicted to his phone, and he had every excuse in the world why he couldn't, shouldn't, and wouldn't do anything about it. We are being harmed by our dependence on these devices, and we're going to talk about it today. And it's a lot of information, so I just want to let you know, as always, if we aren't able to go as in-depth as you'd like, if you have questions or comments, first of all, if you sign in on X or Rumble or the Daily Clout page on Facebook, you're able to sign in and actually ask me questions, make comments as we go. But also, if you go on X, the easiest thing is to go on X and use the @ sign, put Dr. Dina 1, so Dr. Dina 1, and start following me. I'll follow you back. You can ask me questions. You can put your hand up to come on the show. I can have up to 10 people in the studio at a time. I'd love to have you on because, again, this show is about you. It's not about me proving I'm smart or something. It's about taking that intelligence, that knowledge, that common sense that you have and sharpening it into a better shield and a better weapon to protect your life. Now, cell phones, how did we know? When they first started, they were just an improvement on a pager. Now, a lot of you aren't even old enough to know what a pager is, but pagers were something you wore, had in your handbag, and people would contact you and they'd give their number and you would have to then find a phone to call them back. So we were so happy when cell phones came around and they were relatively inexpensive because then you didn't have to search for a phone, you had one on you and they could call you directly, for better or for worse. Now cell phones have totally transformed everything. They do everything except fold laundry. They are cameras, music systems, video conferencing, email and mail systems, GPS. God knows I need that because I would get lost in a cardboard box. So the fact that you can program an address and use your cell phone to get where you need to go, easy breezy. You can contact anyone in the world. You can watch social media, see what's happening in the world. I mean, the list is endless. And I had to put this quote because of researching this topic to give you the best tips on what to do about cell phone addiction. I saw this quote and I thought it was really interesting and apt. The least used app on my phone is phone. Yeah, I call far less than I text and look at social media and use the GPS and research things and check my emails, etc. These things have taken over our lives. I want you to think about how many things does your cell phone do for you on a daily basis? Increased tariffs on our trade partners, tax cuts, and regulation changes. Learn why gold is a viable diversification tactic now more than ever. Birch Gold, the only gold company I trust, is releasing their ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. To get your free copy, along with Birch Gold's free information kit on gold, text Daily Clout to the number 989898. Here are the facts. The national debt continues to increase. Our interest payments on the national debt also continue to increase. Gold is still your hedge against a weakened dollar. And Birch Gold is still the company I trust to help convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Text Daily Clout to 989898 for your free copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era. There's no obligation, only information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews, and thousands of happy customers, including me, you too can trust Birch Gold. Text Daily Clout to the number 989898 today. Now, with all of the things that our cell phones do for us, and for those of you in Australia and the UK, we're talking mobile phones, but you probably already know that, they narrow your perspective. I used a picture of a young guy at an amusement park with people all around, children laughing, rides going on, music going on in the background, and his whole world is focused on the phone that's in your hand, in his hand. And that's what happens for all of us. It shifts the world from what's around you, or even what you need to do, what's important, to what's on your screen. In many ways, these could be seen as indoctrination devices. Now, please understand, I'm not getting rid of my phone just because of this, but it is always good to be aware, and my awareness has changed my behavior with my phone. Now, let's talk about cell phone addiction, and I don't want you to automatically dismiss this. Every time I learn something, I recheck myself to see where I stand on the spectrum. I don't just say, well, I wasn't there a couple of years ago, so I'm okay now. No, we change. Let's talk about cell phone addiction, because I think it's something that impacts so many of us. And you need to know it has cognitive, physical, and psychological side effects. Now, have you heard about people talking about their necks, having problems with their necks from constantly looking down at your phone? Even putting your head up when you look at your phone and looking at it like this can make a difference. Let's not even talk about getting in an accident because you're looking at your phone. We're going to look at other things, but those count too. Let's take a look at a few of them. Let's also start easy. Let's look at cell phone usage. This study found that most people look at their phones 110 times a day. Now, because that's the average, there are actually people who look at their phones even more. Try to think about how many hours. This says 3 hours and 8 minutes. The other one says 3.6 hours. If you added up all the time you spend on your cell phone, how much time do you think that is? Take a second and think about it. The year is ticking along. It's February, almost March. So how are you doing with those 2025 New Year's resolutions? One of my top resolutions was to focus on my well-being. And we all know one of the foundations of well-being is a good night's sleep. So if I could do just one thing to improve my sleep and overall well-being, it's taking the number one mineral for that, which also helps me with focus, stress levels, and mood regulation during the day. Yes, I'm talking about magnesium. Specifically, I'm talking about the magnesium breakthrough by Bioptimizers. The 7 different forms of magnesium in this supplement are involved in over 600 different biochemical reactions in the body. Pretty much every function in your body gets upgraded when you take magnesium. From the quality of your sleep to your brain function, from metabolism to stress levels. And let's face it, even if your 2025 resolution is not to focus on your health as it was mine, how are you going to be able to achieve all of those high goals without quality sleep and stress management support? Do you really think it's going to happen? So do yourself a favor and make magnesium breakthrough part of your daily routine this year so you can get the vitality you need to conquer your dreams. Go to bioptimizers.com/dailyclout now and enter the promo code dailyclout to get 10% off any order. And if you subscribe, not only will you get amazing discounts and free gifts, I love free gifts, you'll make sure your monthly supply is guaranteed. Again, that's bioptimizers.com/dailyclout and use the promo code dailyclout. As a brief aside before we get back to it, I was thinking when I was waiting for the ad to go, there should be, while they're changing all of these laws and changing norms and things that we never imagined would actually be recognized on a big level or actually happening, they should make a rule that you're only allowed to advertise products you actually use. I seem really enthusiastic in the ads because the products I advertise on this show are fantastic and I use them myself. So just an aside, while you're thinking about our wish list, I know my wish list got much longer over the last, how many weeks has he been in office? So let's get back to cell phone usage because I really want us to take control of this because it could be a lot worse than you think. Here's a question. Do you take your cell phone with you into the bathroom? 40% of people do. Not a good idea because it's really hard to keep it clean in there. And your hands aren't necessarily clean. You can drop it in your toilet. I do not take a cell phone into my bathroom. And it says 12% of adults use their smartphone in the shower. They actually put it in plastic so they can use it in the shower. I'm not sure how clean you'd actually get if you're not paying attention to washing yourself and you're instead paying attention to what's on your phone. I would say that's a pretty big warning sign if you take your cell phone into the bathroom with you. Now, everything we're talking about today, as I mentioned at the top, don't think you get out of this just because we're talking cell phones. It also applies to iPads, laptops, and home computers if that's your device of choice. What we're talking about is device addiction. And because our cell phones now do so much and they're so easy to take with us, of course, cell phones are the easiest thing to think about when we're talking about all of this. Now, here's one of the issues. And if you ever get a chance, if you have Spotify, Eckhart Tolle, who is, some people call him a new age guru. I don't. I call him, he's about mindfulness and just the changes that can happen in your life when you're present in your life, which is something that transcends all religions and non-religions. And one of the things he talks about, a lot of people are on their phones all the time and they're not present. Since listening to his free podcasts on Spotify, I've gotten into the habit of not taking my phone when I go for a walk, of not looking at my phone when I'm traveling around. If I take public transport somewhere, because I live near the city, so often public transport is simpler than taking my car. And I am often the only person on public transport who's not spending the entire trip on their phone. Instead, I'm watching people. I'm thinking about the trip. I'm looking out the window, seeing what the day is, wondering about what's going on in the life of the bus driver or the train driver or the ferry pilot. So many people, I've run into so many people who are walking down the street looking at their phones. And they're ignoring the entire world for their device. And it doesn't just happen on public transport, although I had to put a picture of public transport because I find that really interesting. And of course, you get that wonderful feeling when you know better, when you know how damaging it is, so you don't do it anymore. All of you are going to have that feeling. And especially, again, if you want to contact me, you have an aspect, a problem, talk to me now and go on X and follow me. I'll follow you back and we can talk then. And I have a couple of comments. Hello, fans. Oh, it says Elon Musk, but I don't think that really is him. Uh, Somebody said they ended their cell phone. Someone, Nettie, says, I'm addicted to my phone. It was a spy phone, too. Oh my gosh. We are going to have a couple of shows on my specialty in domestic abuse. I'm going to have one show about norms and things that female victims of abuse or targets of abusers tend to go through, like having somebody put spyware on their phone. But that happens for the guys too. I want to be fair, so I will have a separate show and talk about some of the tricks and tactics used by female abusers on males who've grown up thinking that they are immune because they're not women. But yes, a spy phone. And in fact, a lot of these phones have really easy ways to connect phones together and for phones to spy on each other. Oh my God, that's a whole different topic. Thanks, Nettie. That's a whole different topic. And a lot of us are using our device instead of our brains. Remember when you actually had to remember information like somebody's phone number or how to get from one place to another? Nettie says anyone can get into your phone or PC. Yes, they have some things where somebody can tap your phone. Did you ever see Person of Interest with James, what is his name? Jim Caviezel? And they had all these high-tech things, and he would tap somebody when he went by with a phone, and the phones would link. They all do that pretty much. You have to be really careful. Now, here's another thing for all you parents. Using cell phones and iPads as babysitters. OMG! Exclamation point. I have friends whom I love dearly, and one friend of mine whom I adore, but her daughter's 5 years old, just starting school, can't even read yet. What? You never let someone else teach your child to read. And when she's around, she uses cell phones and iPads and the TV as a babysitter for the child instead of giving her books. We're going to talk in a minute, not just the damage to children that this causes, but also what it does for adults. These bold images, the movement on the screen can cause a dependency. Everything has to be quick, bright, fast moving, or they get bored and move away from it. Can you imagine how that's going to impact their school performance? I want you to think about that for a second. And let's get to what happens with adults. I don't want you parents to feel bad, because I do understand that sometimes having something available that the kids will like and be interested in is just an easy way to get them to stop misbehaving. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, and everybody that watches this show knows that. Are you ready to move easily and independently without pain or stiffness holding you back? Do you want to look in the mirror and see a plump, hydrated glow instead of more fine lines and wrinkles? Discover Native Path Collagen, made with only type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers, the two most important types that make up 90% of the collagen in your body. Found in your cartilage, bones, skin, hair, nails, and gut, types 1 and 3 provide maximum benefits without the need for unnecessary fillers. Native Path Collagen is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners. Plus, it's third-party tested for heavy metals, ensuring purity and safety. Completely flavorless, Native Path Collagen can be added to anything. Coffee, smoothies, oatmeal, you name it. Its peptide formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes perfectly without clumping. And the best part, Native Path offers amazing bundle deals. You can get 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, including me, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice. Plus, they offer an 800 number for any questions about usage, recipes or ingredients, and you'll speak to a real person who's ready to help. Join their private Facebook community to share success stories, recipes, and to support each other on this journey called life. Visit getnativepath.com/daily clout and start your transformation today. That's GETNATIVE.com/DAILYCLOUT. Now, before we move on, and because I don't want parents to think I'm picking on you, I have a suggestion for you. If your kids have spent a lot of time on devices, giving them a book with just words on a page can be challenging, or just pictures on a page. Can I suggest you look for this? My daughter's favorite book when she was little was Just a Snowy Day by Mercer Mayer. Now, this is a little book about a snowy day, and it has tactile things in it, like the little fur coat he puts on. They have a little piece of fur that the child can touch, and the boots he puts on, it has a shiny thing, and they even have scratch and sniff cocoa that he gets at the end of his day playing in the snow. Get something like that has a little bit of sound or movement or something as you pull them away. It's easier to do it if you do it gradually and have something tactile. If you don't have something tactile, gather a few things yourself in your house. Be creative and say, oh, the dog felt like this, or the blanket that this person had, the little character, it probably felt like this, and you let them feel the blanket. Get them involved so that you can start pulling them away from the devices, which are designed to be alluring. And this danger about dependency isn't just for kids. One of the things I want to get in everyone's head that watches this show, that listens to me, as a social psychologist, one of the things that I learned is that when we see things that are harmful, people immediately jump and say, oh, we have to protect the kids. And yes, that's true. But just because you reach a certain age, you are not immune. Seeing the danger to children is actually like the canary in the coal mine. If something is harmful for children, it is probably harmful for adults too. Because we have protective instincts, we're more likely to act on it to protect the kids. But the best way to protect the kids is to get it out of the life of the adults as well. And I'm not talking about things that are just age specific, like having a sexual relationship is inappropriate for children. I'm not saying that. But how sexuality is presented. People say, oh, kids shouldn't see porn. I can give you some books on how harmful that exposure is for adults too. Same goes with our devices. We have to be careful. Let us use them, not have them use us. Now, here's some of the things that if you go on and look up cell phone addiction on your favorite search engine, you'll see it talks about impulsivity. Because everything goes hard and fast and bright and bold, it starts to make you like that too. You become more impulsive. You'll have impaired cognitive emotional regulation. A bunch of big words for telling you that you'll tend, because they make everything seem like the worst thing ever, you can start to feel like that too, where every impulse you have, every emotion you have is exaggerated, and you have difficulty calming down. And especially, you'll tend to skew towards negativity because the negativity gets the clicks online. And we all get conditioned by what we expose ourselves to. And I keep reminding you, I am not trying to sound superior, because another thing I learned as a social psychologist, I am just as vulnerable to these things as anyone else if I don't change my behavior and take the shields that I know about and consistently use them in my life. The impaired cognitive function, because we talked about that for a moment, because we rely on our devices, we stop using our brains. So our brains get a little lazy and a little rusty, and we have difficulty learning new things. And a part of us feels like, I don't really need to know that. If I need it, I can always look it up. Now, cell phone addiction is not just about emotions and cognition. It's also linked with poor mental health, depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder. If you have a predisposition, it can make it skew further down the continuum. Alcohol abuse. Interesting that people would tend to drink more who spend more time on their phones. It could be because you're comparing your life to everyone else's. And because everything online is designed for that rapid click, you start to get bored more easily. Boredom is anathema to good mental health. If you get bored easily, it's really something you need to work on because it can ruin your life. Now, here's my guy. This is my boy, Jim Quick. He's fantastic. And for all of us on a budget, he has a lot of things that are actually free. But his book, Limitless, is invaluable. He has done so much work on how the brain works and how practical steps you can take to improve your memory, to improve cognition, to be in control of what you think. Now, what it's called, it has a name, nomophobia. Irrational fear of being without your phone. If you are terrified of not having your phone with you, that is probably a big red flag you're an addict. There's a slang term for it I thought was funny, screenager, like teenager, but with screen in the front. Okay, you might think I'm weird, but I thought it was funny. But the phenomenon isn't funny. It can cause sleep impairment, especially, we're going to talk about steps to keep from doing that, but headaches. And there's a lot of talk now about not keeping that phone up to your head. Now, I talked about the issues about your neck if you're constantly looking down at your phone or at your computer or whatever. But it also can cause headaches having the radiation in the mobile phone. That's for you, Melinda, even though you're not here. Up next to your head. Diminished focus and relationship issues. I want to tell you, the guy that I was with, who was addicted to his telephone, it definitely impacted our relationship. It impacted his relationship with his kids because he would not put that phone away. So he was constantly picking it up and looking at it, which interrupted every conversation. There's no way to have a healthy relationship where you're ignoring people. And young people, I really worry about them. Addiction to mobile phones and devices and social media. Yeah, they get addicted to social media and some sites, even though I value my Instagram page. This is nothing against Instagram, but you do have to be careful, and young people have to be careful because it is a very competitive site. Everybody presents their best face forward on Instagram, and it can make people feel even worse about any challenges they tend to face because the people on Instagram, the influencers, the people getting all the clicks and the sponsorships and everything on Instagram pretend they don't have any problems. It's just you. It can also cause problems with physical fitness because people are on the phone all the time. Shyness, because you start to feel insecure. You know, this person's perfect. Their life is perfect. I don't now. Lowered self-esteem, mental health issues, getting really upset and not knowing what to do about it. And Nettie made some comments here talking about mass surveillance. I know, but I should probably send a note through to Naomi because she's so good at finding out things that people want to hide. And we're probably all being surveilled through our devices more than we recognize. I don't want to scare you, but it's probably true. I am very confident that anybody that is performing surveillance on me is so bored because all I do is work, okay? And look at decorating sites, but it's still not fair and we still don't want it. A lot of people turn them off. I know that I turn my camera off when I'm not on my computer because I do spend so much time on my computer. But we've got to watch out for young people. Although I have said that young people, what's bad for kids and young people is bad for adults, it is true, but we do tend to have a little bit more discernment after we get to be about 25. That doesn't protect us completely, but it gives us a little bit more discernment that they don't have. So you really need to be careful about monitoring and don't feel bad about being tough on them. They'll thank you later when they have healthy relationships, when they're smart enough to get through school and have the profession they want, and their friends are falling behind. Now, let's talk about some warning signs of an addiction. Brace yourself, everybody. I tell you, I actually had to look at this because I want to be honest with you. My big addiction is X, because the news that I look at is half a day behind what's posted on X. So what I often will do is find out what's happening on X, and then I go on Daily Cloud and Rumble to hear some of the people that are really skilled at diving deep, and then find out the more in-depth information on that. Does anybody else do that? If you don't do the other steps, you're missing something. Go on Daily Cloud, look at all the experts on Daily Cloud, go to Rumble, do the same thing. There are people there that really have the inside scoop on a lot of what's going on. But the general news, the TV news, the newspapers, they are so behind and they are so biased that so much of what happens that affects us isn't there. So I have to admit, since I'd say last summer, with the election coming up and everything, I started really checking X a lot. And then when you look at X, you're just doing work and then you say, oh, let me see what's going on. And someone tried to shoot Donald Trump. I mean, come on, the stuff that's going on right now. And every time we look now, the new government is changing something major that we didn't think could happen. And while I'm thrilled, I do tend to look at it a little too much. So, all of you, have your loved ones told you you are addicted? Now, that their word is not the absolute truth, but it's a huge red flag. Do you have excuses why you have to constantly keep checking your phone? My ex had that. He had 1,000,001 excuses why he had to keep looking all the time. I basically said, if something important happens that's relevant to you, they'll call you. You don't need to keep ignoring everybody to look at your phone. You're unable to leave your phone at home. Are you somebody that if you leave your phone at home, you panic and even go back home, even if it's going to make you late or cause all kinds of problems? You've got to have that phone with you. That's an unhealthy attachment. As soon as you're bored, as soon as something isn't capturing every little bit of your attention, you automatically reach for your phone. I'm guilty of this one because I want to see what's happening on X. So when we get to the tips at the end, I promise I have used them. But come on, Nettie can't be the only person with an opinion on this. Come on, you guys. And as I said, go put the @ sign on X, Dr. Dina 1. So DRDINA 1. Follow me. I'll follow you back and tell me what you think. And if you want to keep it just between us, we can. If you want to come on the show, you can. If you have a suggestion for a topic or there's some part of this you want explored further, like what Nettie said about phones being used as spyware, that really does deserve its own show. Here's another sign of addiction. This week's topic made you so uncomfortable, you really questioned whether you were actually going to watch. You've been watching the other episodes, but you thought about making an excuse not to watch this one, even though I'm the only social psychologist that I know that is actually bringing the knowledge of how you are being manipulated and controlled to the public. I'm the only one doing it. Nettie made a point about hidden cameras. So when we do the show, thanks, Nettie. If you want to come on the show, follow me on X and we'll have a talk because you have a lot of good input. Come on, where are my other people? I've had other people that come in and give some comments. I know you have some comments on this. When we do the show about using spyware in your phones, we can also talk about Hidden cameras, how to spot hidden cameras, people using hidden cameras, people putting nanny cams in places. And if you remember The Sixth Sense, do you remember The Sixth Sense? That one of the things that happened is that the little girl had a teddy bear nanny cam and she left it on because her mother had Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And because she left it on, she was able to show people and get her mother arrested, who was actually poisoned her and actually killed her. Okay, follow me on Facebook. Look up Dr. Dina McMillan on Facebook. I'm on Facebook too. So we can chat on Facebook. You aren't on X? Follow me on Facebook. Let's talk. People with good insight, this is a good chance to share your knowledge with each other. It's not just about me. Now, here's another cell phone addiction warning sign. You're unable to stick to a plan to cut down usage. When we go through the steps in a minute, I want you to save this show so you can look at them again, because sometimes we have a tough time doing something the first time we encounter it. Sometimes we need to motivate ourselves again. So the good thing is this show is recorded, and I'm going to actually download it and post it on my X feed. It'll be on Daily Cloud and Rumble as of tomorrow. Okay, so you can watch it as many times as you like to keep yourself motivated and to go through the signs. If we're going to talk about tips to get your cell phone usage under control. If you aren't able to stick with it, that can be an indicator of unhealthy usage, if not addiction. Here's some red flags. Touching your phone calms you down. It makes you happy to touch it. Its use interferes with your life, causes you to have accidents, you're constantly on it, and you've had people say you're on it too much, it interferes with your relationships, and like my ex, you have a million excuses why you cannot leave that phone alone. That is a serious red flag. Here's some more. You feel anxious if you don't have it on you, or if you can't see it or touch it. You're constantly on it. And when you tell yourself, I'm going to cut down on how much I use it, you don't think you're going to be able to do that. If people ask you, how much do you use it? You're lying. Ooh, that's a really bad sign. If you're lying to yourself, even worse. Do you lie to people? Oh, I only look at it when I'm fill in the blank, but you know that's not true. And if you're one of the people that's taking your phone and putting it in a plastic bag and taking it into the bathroom with you, because that way you can look at it without anybody saying anything, whether you take it into the shower or just use it while on the toilet or just in the bathroom with you, that is a red flag, a huge one. Here's another one, indication of serious problems. Your online relationships and links with people are stronger than your relationships with people in real life. The people in real life have started to fade out, and the people that you have online relationships with are now in bold colors. They matter more. Your favorite influencer, your favorite commentator, your favorite character, watching to see what's happening in Washington, that has taken over your life, and that matters more than any of the relationships you have in real life. You would choose being online over an in-person event. You stayed home from things because you want to spend time online. That's one of the reasons it's so important that all of these shows, although they're live streamed, they're also recorded. You don't have to miss anything in real life to watch this information, okay? And think about it. Do you spend most of your waking hours online? Yikes. Now, I know it's tough for all of us because every day we look up, there's a new law, a new rule, and somebody else that's been torturing us for years, if not decades, is getting a firm kick in the backside, finally. And it's hard not to constantly pay attention to that, do your little happy dance. I know I've happy danced more than once over the last 3 weeks, but we have to keep it in control because it can take over from us. It can take over our lives. And so don't shrug. This actually could be a serious problem. So, as always, I am going to present some simple tips to take back control. If any of you have done something to take back control from your device, whether it's your computer, your iPad, your cell phone, if you've done something successfully, please be kind and share it with everyone else. Okay? Because I only have an hour, I'm limited in how much I can talk about. So I can't, and I don't know everything. Doing research, gosh, for everything that's researched, probably 20% of the information available is actually in the research. Everything else, people are like, oh, they probably know that already. I know I felt that way when I came up with my Unmasking the Abuser domestic abuse prevention program. I looked at how long domestic abuse programs had been around, and I was like, I'm sure somebody's done this already. I'm sure people know this already. But I just felt compelled to write it down. And even now, I have the only prevention education program in the world. That's WORLD, in the world. And if you want to know about it, just look up Dr. Dina TEDx, and you can see my Unmasking the Abuser program. And you can see why it's so important. I'm doing everything I can to get this program to Washington so we can start offering it nationally, because I want to tell you now, before we get to the tips, that one tip about being in control and taking back your life is that 25%, at least 25% of women are abused at least once in their lives. And the percentage of men is lower, but catching up. That statistic hasn't changed since the mid-1980s. I have the only program so far that can change that statistic. And I need help, though, getting the right people to roll it out. So if any of you have contacts, if any of you know someone, contact me, contact them. Let's get this out there. Let's continue taking back control. And let's talk right now about taking your control back with regard to your cell phone. Set your phone aside each day. Have a time each day where you're not on your phone. No phones at the table. Now that's, even if you live by yourself, while you're eating your food, don't have your cell phone around. Don't even have it somewhere you can see it. Walk in nature without your phone. And thank you, Eckhart Tolle. Okay. He's the one that really emphasized that, and it's a godsend. As far as your mental health is concerned, as far as staying present and being able to deal with your life, this is invaluable. Walks in nature are so needed. If you can do it barefoot, even better. But having your phone, even if you're listening to something great or uplifting, no, listen to it later. Go out without your phone and just walk and experience where you are and what's going on. The wonder that you feel being out in nature is just, it's life-changing, and it can get you through some really hard times. Here's another thing. Have a device-free day each week. Now, that is kind of tough if you work 7 days a week like me. But while I may not be able to stay off my computer every day, I have days where I don't have access, where I just put my cell phone away and don't look at it. You can do the same thing. It's not easy. You may have to start at half a day and then work up, okay? Limit your time on social media. Don't constantly go on it. This is something, especially with young people, because they often communicate so much on social media. But not just young people. Do you know one of my sisters? I found out she was getting a divorce on Facebook. She didn't even bother to call her sisters. She just posted it on Facebook. No, that is no way to live our lives. And also put your phone away for at least 1 hour before bed. That blue light and the imagery can actually cause issues with your body shutting down and making it possible for you to sleep. Here's another thing. Rely on your memory more. Try to memorize travel routes. This is a real challenge for me because, as I told you, I've been praying every year for Santa to bring me a sense of direction. Hasn't happened yet, but I have started paying attention where I go and not putting GPS on and seeing if I can get back and forth to this place, even if I get lost, but trying to memorize where I'm going, looking at the street signs, not becoming so dependent on my phone to get me through my life. Same with phone numbers, actually having people's phone numbers that you memorize, including your own. I've run into people that have to really think because everything's so programmed, they don't even remember their own phone number anymore. Notice here's something else. Notice if you're constantly touching your phone. Now, it sounds kind of creepy, but you'd be surprised. So many people are addicted to their cell phone, they don't feel safe if they don't know exactly where it is. Also, pay attention to your anxiety levels. People who spend a lot of time on their phone tend to be more anxious. We talked about that before, that mood regulation becomes a problem. Because people get clicks and attention online by blowing everything up and making everything seem like the world's biggest disaster, your anxiety levels start to go up. And you can also ask your loved ones, if you have family like mine that don't pull any punches, ask them, am I too reliant on my phone? Now, if they're really reliant on their phones and they don't want you to say to them, stay off the phone, they may not tell you. So don't let that be your only measure. Pay attention to these other things. Now, here's some additional tips. If you go online and look at ending phone addiction and ending reliance on phones, one of the things I kept constantly saying is people suggesting when you go out and socialize or when you're at the dinner table, everybody put their phone face down. No, they've done studies and found that even if you can see your phone, it will actually impact the interactions of the people there. It still keeps a portion of your awareness if you can see it. So when you socialize, everyone's phone goes in the pocket, it goes in the purse, it goes somewhere where you cannot see it. Oh, Nettie said something that I have to add here. She said we should get addresses again and start writing letters and sending Christmas cards. It's also a way to keep contact more private. Oh, you have to be on my show. Contact me, because I would love to have you on. You have some good suggestions. I'm sure other people do too. Stop being shy. It's only me. But keep the phone away. Now, if you have somebody that needs to reach you, don't turn the phone off so that if it rings, you hear it, if it's important. But still put it away so that nobody on the table has a phone that they can look at. And you're only allowed to reach for the phone if you're a physician on call or if it's an emergency. Otherwise, you interact with each other. Same goes with music. I see so many people allowing their kids to be in the car with them with earbuds in and listening to music. No, you interact with the people you're with. You look at the environment you're in. No one is doing you favors by constantly making you dependent on devices. Here's another additional tip. Return to reading real books. Your brain absorbs more information if you actually, have books. Now, I have a Kindle, and I love having that Kindle because when I travel, I can take a lot of books that I need to read and research I need to look at. And it's all on the device, so I don't have this heavy bag because they've gotten really stingy about how much weight you can have. But I'm not surprised that studies have said that they have found that if you can actually pick up a book and read off the page, it embeds more deeply in your mind. You're more likely to process and remember the information than even if you see it in an ebook. Now, you all know that I have an ebook. If you go on my website that I post at the end, you'll be able to get my ebook. It's only $10. But one of the things I suggest to everybody, take that ebook and print it out, okay? Print it so you can touch it, so you can turn the pages. Then the information becomes real and it becomes yours. You can even turn the pages down, highlight what you need to. Real books, folks. Let's get back to real books. And that's another reason to order the Pfizer papers. It's a real book. And if you're able to do any of the stuff we talk about, feel proud of yourself. Congratulate yourself. Don't say, oh, yeah, okay, I did a little, but I still have. No, celebrate every victory. You need that. You deserve that. I want you to have that. So, does anybody other than lovely Nettie have any questions, comments, stories? Cell phones, again, devices. One of the things, I have a few minutes left, and until somebody comments, I have a few minutes left. One of the devices I want you people to pay attention to is video games. When we do the show and we talk about the cameras and the spyware, we might need to talk about video games too. I've done an enormous amount of research on the problems with video games. And especially if your kids do online gaming, I don't know if you know it, but a lot of gambling sites pay a lot of money to advertise on those gaming sites, the online gaming sites. And if your kids are addicted to video games, they are significantly more at risk of having a gambling problem as an adult. And I say that as the former commissioner for gambling and liquor regulation. So that's not just off the top of my head. I am actually I know it seems like I have way too many jobs. I told you I work every day, but I'm also a gambling expert. And some of the things that I saw linked with gambling risk of addiction is video games. Now, something that can lead you to video games is having a device. Now, we have someone else. I'm going to have to spell the name because it's on Rumble, MKRUL, Merkel Stewart in Florida. Says, I watch political podcasts as much as I can so I don't miss anything. Absolutely. Stay informed, but limit the time, because we all need to actually pay attention to our environments, because we can do a whole show, and I may do, on all the risks I see for mental health and physical health associated with social isolation. And the more we're on our devices, the less we're interacting with real people in real time. Our devices are supposed to be a tool. I worried when they put cameras on phones because I thought it made it too easy to just, how many people photograph their life instead of living it? It's why when I go out to dinner, I don't take pictures of my food. Okay, so Nettie has a suggestion for the audience. She says, look up Kay Griggs, Griggs, an 8-hour interview in 1998, a deep state wife, talking about a lot of the stuff that we have going on that we don't know about. Now, I know it makes us tend to depend on our devices to find out what's going on, but we need to find out what's going on. And also, all of you watching this, let's make a vow to try to look around in our real lives and find groups we can interact with and discuss these issues that are real people that we're dealing with in real time. Because again, I see so many mental health and physical health issues associated with social isolation, and having everything so available on a device increases social isolation. And believe me, the people who are behind these devices are well aware of the fact that they are making us dependent. So I want you to think about all of this. I thank you for being on here with me. Again, please go on my website, drdinamcmillan.com, buy a copy of my ebook to support my work. And if you get the copy, please print it out. I know it makes me sell less copies. If you actually make a couple of copies and give it to a friend, I don't care. I want everybody to be healthy and happy. And if you have a great topic, send it to me and we'll talk about it soon. Thank you so much for joining me. And please know I'm going to be downloading this episode and posting it on X. Now, it takes a little while for it to go up. But you can also look on Rumble and David Clout and find this information. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next Tuesday.